You never forget the sound. It wasn't loud in the way an explosion is loud, it was sharp, sudden, wrong star. The kind of sound that cuts through noise, through laughter, through the normal rhythms of a peaceful plaza. One moment I was walking past a vendor selling Terran berries, the next, I froze. My head snapped around, eyes already scanning. That's when I saw her. She couldn't have been more than 7. Hair braided in tight little coils, wearing a dress too new for someone who'd grown up on a space station. Probably the daughter of a diplomat. Maybe her first time out without a minder. She was just laughing, spinning in the zero-grave art fountain. Weightless joy. Pure. And then he struck her. The Derelian officer, Commander Gyrek, stood tall and still, his clawed hand lowered after the blow. His ceremonial armor caught the plaza lights, reflecting a twisted kind of glory. Around them, silence spread like a plague. Even the station's air vent seemed to hush. The child stumbled back, hand on her cheek, too stunned to cry. My boots were moving before my brain caught up. I stepped between them. My body on autopilot, trained, ready. Gyrek looked at me without fear, just mild irritation. Like I was a buzzing insect, not a man who'd fought wars across 3 systems. No apology. No explanation. Just the quiet certainty that nothing would happen to him. He didn't know Earth. He didn't understand that every human watching had just felt something ancient crack open in their chests. She was one of ours. And he had laid hands on her? In that breathless moment, I made a vow. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. My name's Commander Elias Vorn, Earthborn, 3rd-generation Deathworlder. I was raised beneath the shattered skies of post-war Siberia, trained in the orbital academies over Titan, and forged in blood during the Red Belt conflicts. My kind didn't get soft. We couldn't afford to. The slap wasn't just a slap. It was a declaration. A line crossed that could never be uncrossed. And when that Derelian claw hit a child's face, something ancient stirred across every human colony, every outpost, every soul that came from Earth. We're not like the others. We remember. Every atrocity, every betrayal, every inch of ground earned through suffering. And we never forget. The girl's name was Ava Rana. Her mother, Ambassador Sira Rana, was one of our brightest, calm, brilliant, diplomatic. She wanted peace more than anyone. But when I saw her that evening, she wasn't peaceful. She was silent. Pale. A look in her eyes I'd seen before, on soldiers before the charge. But the council? They issued a statement. They called it a cultural misunderstanding. Gyrek claimed he acted in self-defense, felt threatened by sudden movement. Threatened by a giggling child. They thought that would be enough. That would nod, file it away, move on. But Earth doesn't work like that. We don't start wars. We end them. There's a protocol, deep in the archives of Earth Command. A fail-safe. Created after the Jovian hostage crisis. Activated only when the Council's protections fail to protect our own star. Protocol 17, Deathworld Reckoning. Only 5 people in the galaxy had the clearance to initiate it. I was one of them. That night, I stood alone in the comms chamber, hand hovering over the activation sequence. And with a single breath, I whispered the words. Execute Protocol 17. The vengeance of Terror was never meant to fly again. She was a relic, old war steel from the Centauri sieges, patched and forgotten in the orbital graveyards above Mars. But some relics aren't dead. They're just waiting to be remembered. When Protocol 17 activated, she roared back to life. No flashy fleet. No declarations. Just one ship, cloaked, silent, and armed with nightmares the Council pretended we dismantled. Our target wasn't the Derelian Empire. It was the officer. One man. One message. Make the galaxy understand that Earth's children were never fair game. Commander Gyrek lived on the high spires of Velas Prime, their jewel world. Protected by guards, honor walls, and bureaucracy. But those don't stop Ghost Recon. An Ray was Ghost Recon in its purest form. She'd vanished during the siege of Droman, presumed KIA. What no one knew was she'd survived, rescued, rebuilt, and hidden under Project Revenant. She didn't return for glory. She returned for Ava Star. We slipped her onto Velas Prime in a drop pod no larger than a coffin. She landed with no sound, no warning. They never even knew she was there until it was far too late. She infiltrated the palace without a trace. Took down guards with neural dampeners and knives coated in biolock serum. She didn't use a gun. That would have been merciful. When she found Gyrek, he was still smug. Still convinced no human would dare cross Derelian soil. She said nothing. Just held up the holo of Ava's bruised face. His voice broke for the first time. It didn't matter. No trial. No speech. Just execution, clean, surgical, final. Then Ray took his head, sealed it in a ceremonial helmet, and transmitted one simple message back to us. Justice delivered. Awaiting extraction. The council chamber was built to awe, cathedral-high ceilings, crystal pillars humming with light, the banners of 100 species rippling in artificial wind. Every time I entered it, I remembered what we fought for. What we'd built. What we'd joined Star. And on this day, we shattered it. Ray led the way, dressed in full Deathworld combat armor, obsidian black, matte finish, not a single insignia. She didn't need one. Her presence alone made the air colder. Behind her, I walked with the Vengeance's honor guard, silent, motionless, like statues of war. Conversations died as we entered. 1,000 eyes turned. The Derelians hissed from their crescent seats. The Ilarians recoiled. Even the Gorthan warchiefs lowered their massive heads. No one moved. Ray stepped to the center. Slowly, deliberately, she lifted the helmet from her satchel. Gyrek's helmet. Still sealed. Still stained. She dropped it. The sound was final. It hit the polished stone floor and rolled, slow and sickening. When it stopped, the visor faced the assembly, revealing what we'd brought. Gasps spread like ripples. Some stood in shock. Others collapsed in their seats. One of the Eruvian speakers began to weep. I stepped forward. This was not war, I said, my voice calm. This was a response. A message. No trial, a Silith delegate snapped. No appeal? No order? You struck a child, I said evenly, we answered. Councillor Verex, the oldest among them, finally spoke. You presume yourself judge, jury, an executioner. No, I replied, turning toward him. We presume ourselves *parent star. Silence. There was no applause. No threats. Just the weight of what had been done, hanging in the room like smoke after a fire. We didn't wait for permission. We turned and left. Behind us, the helmet remained. So did the warning. The shockwaves didn't stop at the council chamber. Within hours, Derelian diplomatic envoys withdrew from Earth space. Trade routes halted. Joint research programs frozen. News feeds screamed about escalation, retaliation, sanctions. The galaxy trembled, not because of what we did, but because we actually did its star. They expected humans to bark, not bite. And then something changed, quietly, at first. The Zelari delegation, long silent in council sessions, submitted a formal grievance. Buried in their language were accusations of child trafficking on fringe colonies, overseen by council-approved security contractors. The Tharn Confederacy, once the most obedient to Derelian rule, released decades of sealed records, documenting systemic abuses, forced labor, disappearances. One by one, others followed. The Tianak, the Lysari, even the cold-blooded Frex. Quiet voices, small grievances, all pointing toward the same rot, unchecked council power. Unquestioned authority. Especially by those with claws and crests and ceremonial armor. Gyrek wasn't an outlier. He was a symptom. And Earth's answer had become a spark. Not a war. A reckoning. Of course, many still condemned us. Accused us of barbarism, of vigilante justice. But none of them moved against us. Not openly. Because deep down, they knew, if Earth was capable of that for one bruised child, what would we do for something worse? For once, fear wasn't a tool of empires or slavers. It was ours. And we wielded it not to dominate, but to defend star. Behind closed doors, species once terrified of humanity were now quietly asking to join our alliances. Not because they loved us. Because they believed we would stand when others looked away. In less than a week, the council fractured, not through war, but through truth. And in that fracture, something else emerged. Hope. I found her in the garden behind the embassy, tucked between synthetic hedges and glowing blue blossoms genetically engineered to mimic Earth's lilacs. She sat cross-legged in the dirt, drawing constellations with a stick, childish lines, looping stars. Innocent things. Ava looked up when she heard my footsteps, but didn't speak. Not at first. Her eyes, one still faintly bruised, held a caution no child should ever carry. It wasn't fear. It was knowledge. A terrible understanding that the universe wasn't always kind. I crouched beside her, the weight of my armor creaking. She stared at the line she'd made in the soil. "Did the bad man go away?" she asked softly. I didn't answer immediately. I looked up at the stars, filtered through a dome, artificial but still infinite. Then I nodded. "He won't hurt anyone again." She didn't smile. Just kept drawing. "Did you make him afraid?" That one hit harder than any bullet. I wanted to lie. Say something gentle. Something clean. But Earth doesn't teach us to lie to our children. We teach them to see the world for what it is, and still choose to be human. "Yes," I said. She thought about that for a long time. Then her little hand pressed the stick deeper into the soil, tracing a spiral star. "Good." I watched her for a while. Quiet. Letting her be. Her mother stepped into view, nodded at me, and said nothing. We shared a look, one of pain and gratitude and something that might have been pride. As I walked away, I realized something. This wasn't about vengeance. Not really. This was about what comes after vengeance. About ensuring no child ever needs to ask that question again. About making a galaxy safe enough for her to draw stars in peace. The Council didn't expel us. They didn't dare. Their fear outweighed their pride, and their need for Earth's strength outweighed their thirst for vengeance. So they called it reform. Reorganization. Recommitment to shared values. But beneath all the diplomatic language, everyone knew the truth. We'd redrawn the rules. A new doctrine was drafted within a week, Security Mandate 14. It authorized full oversight of Council security operations, with mandatory human advisors assigned to each enforcement arm. They called it a safeguard. We called it insurance. For every Ava, for every silent victim, the line had finally been drawn in blood. Some said we'd gone too far. That we'd set a dangerous precedent. But those voices were fewer now, and quieter. Because others, the ones who had suffered in silence for generations, finally had a shadow to stand beneath. Ours. We weren't heroes. We weren't saviors. We were Deathworlders. We do not threaten. We warn. We do not conquer. We protect star. And when the innocent are harmed, we don't send envoys. We send justice star. I still remember my final words in that chamber. Not for politics. Not for fear. But for her star. For Ava. You struck a child, I said to the council, my voice echoing like a drumbeat in the hall. You broke something sacred. And now, your silence carries her laughter forever. Then I turned and walked out, the seal of earth glinting on my backplate. Behind me, the council sat in stunned quiet. Not because we'd spoken, but because we meant its star. This was not the beginning of war. It was the beginning of memory. The galaxy would not forget Earth. And it would never forget what happens when you touch one of our children. Not ever again.